It's very dark this morning. Wow. Thick cloud, I think, is out there. I think there's a thick cloud. You won't believe what else happened. Steve, come check this out. All right, just before we go out here at 6:50 a.m., let's just check the tide clock. It says just past low. Here's another one, just past low. Thank you, Doug, for this tide clock. And today is a good day to set your tide clock. You know why? Why? T-Rex says, why is it a good day to set my tide clock? Come on, Steve. Because there's a full moon. And I read somewhere once, you set your tide clock at high tide at midnight on the day of a full moon. And we have that today. And what else do we have? Oh my goodness. What is this on the ground? We've got cat paw tracks. It snowed last night. Did it snow last night at your house? The temperature yesterday was 45 degrees. And last night, when it started snowing, it was 38 degrees. And it snowed pretty hard for a couple of hours. Steve, please. No, we are not operating an excavator today. You're coming this way. Steve's on walkabout. Come on, Steve. And it's still cloudy. So we can't see the moon. I can't believe that the snow didn't melt. It snowed that hard for an hour and a half last night. Here goes the ferry, bringing the crew, captain, over to pick up the passengers to commute from Hingham to Boston today, where it is a pretty nice day. And where is that moon? Well, we can't see the moon because the cloud is so thick. And Carl Weller, though, in Stowe, Vermont, sees the moon. Beautiful, setting to the south of Mount Mansfield, where I think we got more snow last night than northern Vermont. We got the most snow. And look at those waves in the sky waves. I always talk about them. There were ripples in the atmosphere, and they are still there. Even this morning, just before 6 a.m., there was an echo on the radar. The radar sends out a beam. If it bounces back, that's precipitation. So there was still a little light precipitation happening in New Hampshire this morning, where I don't think there was any accumulation. I think it was a real localized band of snow. And I think the global models, I think the GFS did better than the high resolution NAM yesterday. And Mitch in Vermont saw it coming. He's a meteorologist, and he said, looks like CSI band forming tonight. CSI, Conditional Symmetric Instability. Okay, thanks, Mitch. He graduated more recently than I did. I didn't recall conditional symmetric instability, so I had to look it up and read about it in the middle of the night and early this morning. So if conditions are met, you're going to get symmetrical instability. And the rising parcel is going to continue to rise. And so what happened yesterday, I know, it's not that easy, is it? Was that we had a wind from the southeast and east near the ground on the south side of a high pressure system. And so that was low level, actually stability. Had to overcome low level stability when you get an east wind with a high pressure system. But up in the sky, way up above 16,000 feet, the wind was from the west and southwest at 80 to 90 knots. So can you picture it? The wind up in the air moving really fast and in a different direction than the wind down on the ground. And so that creates lift, and there was lift, and there was abundant moisture, and there was a warm front aloft, surface wave down to the south, warm front slant up, and this incredibly narrow band of snow, just pretty much parallel to Interstate 90. It ran due west to east, and the band itself was not really moving north or south. It was just sitting over me for an hour and a half last night from 10:30 to just past midnight. Brady in Northborough was also on it. Brady measured an inch in the grass yesterday. I didn't measure it, but I can measure it. I'm gonna put it in the books as 0.1 of snow, even though the temperature here has not been below freezing since Sunday. What's today? Thursday. We're in the middle of a thaw, yet the ground turned white. Mother Nature never ceases to amaze, does she? You hear the mourning doves So yeah, the sun's coming up right about now, and the workers are probably in their trucks walking up the hill, and they're going to be here before we are done taping this, because I've spent so much time talking about conditional symmetric instability. And I don't even think I have to walk carefully. How slippery is it? It's not really slippery at all. Did anything accumulate in the gauge? I mean, it was probably less than yeah, we did. We melted down a 0.03. And so for most of us, that's probably about 0.02 more than had been forecast. Are these bushes going to survive? I don't know, but they're probably going to go back into the ground today or tomorrow. I don't know, Steve. I don't know. So many more questions than answers. Okay, so what kind of boundary do we have? It's a weak warm front well to our south of this high pressure system. Regional temperature map this morning showed 0 degrees in Holton, Maine. So there's the cold air fueling from the north and east side, and that's that stable layer usually. And then you see 36 in Boston. So there's a low level stable layer, but above it there's an unstable layer, and that's why we have clouds this morning and a red sky in morning. Sailor, take warning. Warning indeed. National advisories, watches, and warnings is a huge area. It looks like winter storm warnings, the sort of pinkish area there. They look small, but they are all the way down to Southern California. Storm coming in right now in parts of Arizona, New Mexico, and then you have this vast area of gold and red. Gold is wind and red is fire danger. So ahead of this storm coming in off the Pacific Ocean, there's a massive area of warm, dry wind. And then right under the storm itself, heavy precipitation. There will be severe weather, probably more tomorrow than today. And will there be a localized blizzard? So far, no blizzard. Well, you don't have blizzard watches, so we'd probably just see, if it happens, a blizzard warning coming up somewhere in the northern plains tomorrow. But we are going to be on the warm receiving end of that storm when it gets here. There's some tracks right there that are not Steve. What are those tracks? Who thought we'd be tracking some critters in snow this morning? I certainly didn't. A lot of work got done down there yesterday. It's going to end up probably pretty wet here, but not until Sunday night. Until then, not that bad, but we do have low pressure south of us. The low that's south of us is that one that came out of California 3 days ago, and that's going to keep the easterly flow going in the Boston area. So these clouds are going to be stubborn to lift. And here's the Boston 5 to 10 day meteogram, and the temperature with the air coming in off the ocean. The water temperature is in the lower 40s. The air temperature is going to be in the lower 40s again today. This snow will be melting. And tomorrow, upper 40s, still a lot of clouds. But note there is a break in the sky cover there tonight with some moon showing. So there's an eclipse of the moon tonight at midnight. And I'm not sure if it's a full lunar eclipse, but the moon's supposed to turn red. And if we see it, take a picture of it for me and send it in. I don't know if I want to stay up late again to set my tide clock. By the way, I'm going to set my tide clock at midday today. I'm sorry, we're looking at the meteogram. Let's look at the wind pickup on Sunday. So Saturday is mostly dry. Temperature's going to be in the 50s, probably a little nicer than Sunday, where it's going to be more windy. But the St. Patrick's Day parade should be dry with a high temperature close to 60 degrees, and the rain's probably not coming in until late in the day, but the wind could be gusting 40 plus miles per hour even at the parade. But we'll see how that funnels down the streets. But all systems go. And oh yeah, the sap run for you at Wildcat, Brendan and everybody on Saturday. You know, the wind might not be that bad, but you said there's a fixed grip that can get you up to the race course anyway, so that's looking pretty good. Spring skiing, sap. Whenever you have something called the sap run, you think spring skiing, and we're going to have that too. And temperature will probably be well into the 40s. And that's for Wildcat. And the rest of us, let's go to the GFS now and try and keep this under 20 minutes. GFS from Pivotal Weather, and it did a good job with last night's little band of snow from a few days ago. And it shows that snow pulling out last night, this morning, and then we have wave to our south. You can just make it out with that sort of closed low. There it shows up there, southeastern Nantucket, and that's a weak wave going away. And once that wave gets well away from us, then that storm in the middle of the nation is going to take over as it deepens into the 970s, and we have a Bermuda high-pressure system. There's going to be a warm front, then a warmer front on Saturday, with most of the heavy rain missing us off to the west and the north on Saturday, and then another band of precipitation breaks out with a storm that is not even onshore yet, is going to catch up to this first one, and they're going to join, and then that's our band of heavy rain coming in here late Sunday into early Monday morning. That's downpours from the coast of Maine through Cape Cod all the way down to the east coast of Florida. And then on Monday and to Tuesday, you have brief cold air advection. It gets colder, enough for a little refreeze, some nice spring skiing here around next Tuesday or so. And then another warm front comes in. That low is going to our north on Wednesday. That's a lot farther north than it had it yesterday. So Wednesday, that would be rain, but that front is pressing south. Slow it down, Tim. What is this? A low pressure system going near the benchmark with a high to our north, and rain is trying to change to snow in eastern Massachusetts, all the way down to sleet on Nantucket on Thursday morning. Oh my goodness, it's always a Thursday, isn't it? Yeah, it's a Thursday right now. Right now, Steve. And every Thursday has some kind of surprise. And this is the first time we've been surprised by snow here on a Thursday. And what happens next week? If that happens next week, Steve, the snow is going to be up to here on you. Okay. Do you believe it? I don't believe it, but Thursdays are full of surprises. So surprise watch in effect for 8 days from now or 7 days from now, and then keep that going, and that pushes off, and then you're sort of seasonable here. And it looks like the pattern may be shifting back to sort of cooler, and with a threat for a little bit more precipitation, although it looks like by next Saturday it's more green than blue, and into Sunday now, or to Sunday, what's that, the 22nd or 23rd, past the vernal equinox, and it's high pressure building in southeastern Canada, and some mixed precipitation possible around here with the blue lines to our south. It takes a lot of blue lines to make it snow this time of year, and we barely had one last night. So March weather makes apologists of meteorologists. Wow, we're at 11 minutes now. I spent so much time on that conditional asymmetric instability. I'm not even sure what conditions and what is the symmetry of it. Anyhow, we're down to the end game on this wall coming in, and the end more yesterday pretty much just keeping track of the construction, and the machine was laying down this track here. They're going to drive some pilings. I'm not sure where and why they're driving pilings, but we're going to hear them and feel them as they get rammed into the ground. I get some video of those and a video of last night's snow. I just couldn't believe it. I don't know if I'm going to stick this in the end more or not, but it was quite a spectacle, and it kept me up a little later than I'd like, but that's what weather does. It keeps me up at night thinking about it. And the first thing I do whenever I wake up is look at a radar or a temperature map. And you can see those sky waves. The wind up there in the sky is moving from left to right, west to east at about 50 miles an hour. And the air on the ground is kind of still, or even coming in from the east. So just think of putting a pencil on a table, putting your hand on the pencil, and rolling the pencil with your hand. That's what happens in the atmosphere. Okay, and we've got one tiny cumulus cloud. As I zoom in, I have to talk louder, right over the Back Bay of Boston. Wow. We may see these clouds thicken up and come in from the east, so we'll be watching that on our time lapse, and can't even tell you what's going to do for the next 24 hours. I think it's going to stay chilly and mostly gray in Boston. Here is yesterday. Now, was this day 72 and 73 in a row of snow? Oh yeah, that's another thing I was going to talk about. Chris Lewis said that his friends saw snow in Maine on Tuesday morning. That day it was so warm. That would have been day 71 in a row of snow. And then last night, this would have been day 72 in a row. And then at past midnight last night, that would have been day 73 in a row of snow. I'm not sure. I'm so confused about that. So there is the sun coming up underneath the cloud, reflecting off the buildings in Howe's Neck. Reflections, waves. And here's the Enmore from yesterday. T-Rex, we can go in. Oh, you would have thought I would have looked at the thermometer too. 35 degrees this morning. And still the snow is just melting now. And about setting the tide clock. So tide clocks mostly have a battery in the back. So you just take the battery out, move the hand to high. High tide at 11:44 this morning or midnight tonight and put the battery back in at high tide with the needle pointed towards the top, which I can't do with my hand holding a phone. All right, here's the and more from yesterday. Thanks for the clock, Doug. Down east. Not even 7:30 in the morning, and they've already set 2 blocks. It takes an excavator and 3 people to help set it. So let's watch maybe a time lapse of them setting one of the final top stone block of the wall. All kinds of heavy equipment around here. They are careful, precise workers. I love to see that they're checking the level. It's level. Supposedly they're going to be driving pilings today, we get a notice. So that should be interesting. That's what we'll look for next. Again, it's only 8 o'clock in the morning. There's a 38-minute video right there. All right, so now we're getting the stone. It's going to be at the end, the buttress at the end of the wall, and that's above some drainage coming off the hill between the properties. So he's placing them. It was pretty scary when they landed in that bin, though. And still got stone coming in. Dusty stone. Reflection of the camera. Jim, how's he get it out of there with the bucket oriented that way? Start turning the bucket close. With the bucket, the surgeon. Roger that. 10:10. Cold air advection continues. Construction continues. Big rigs all over the place, including a big tanker with 2 huge tugboats. We like big things around here. Captain, how's the weather out there? It's a gorgeous day. Solar Magellan. What causes weather? The sun. Okay, last time this happened, the house shook. Let's see how it goes this time. Again, I know that. Thanks for the rocks. Alright, so kind of another phase going on down there with these crane mats being laid down for a more solid surface. I'm not sure why they're doing that. I guess maybe to work up on the hill, perhaps. Birds still love the bush, even when it's laying on its side. going on down here for my safety. This. Thank you. Okay. I'm gonna wrap it up maybe tomorrow. Corners. And then just laying down a platform down here. I think for some different equipment to be able to come down. They said that pilings were going to be driven. I haven't seen any sign of the pilings. Got mud. Plenty of mud. That's not fair. All right, some of the crew's still here. And I think these are the pilings that they're talking about driving. Pretty much certain they are. They're going, some of them are 25 feet long, going something like 8 feet into the ground. It's gonna be a different machine coming doing that. Tomorrow? I think those are precast stairs. They're going adjacent to the worm farm. Probably tomorrow. Stay tuned. I haven't talked much about the sky, have I? Cirrus clouds, those are more warm air advection clouds than cold air advection clouds, even though we are in cold air advection. The wind is starting to come in off the ocean, so I would assume a low layer stratus is going to come in at the same time. Is it supposed to snow tonight? Did it snow last night? It kind of doesn't even look or resemble a snow sky yet, but sunset's still hours away. All right, it's the end of the day, 6 p.m. Kind of the end of the day. Letting you guys out without leashes, so please don't go too far. All right, so the sky certainly has changed. 40 degrees, dew point in the upper 20s, so theoretically, if it begins to precipitate, especially at night, the evaporational cooling will bring the dew point up a little and the temperature down a little, and they could meet in the mid-30s, and look at that cloud. There is precipitation, and it is a weird looking radar. It just lifted this. Look at that line there from northern New York right across into southern Maine with the green at lower elevation, blue at higher elevation. The radar is trying to say it's snowing up high. And certainly south of that line, there's a nice little wave form of mostly rain, but temperature's going down. So, did we get snow last night? My guess is it did precipitate, and my guess is less than 0.1 in the rain gauge. My guess is also the ground was not white, because the air is coming in off the ocean. I mean, it's cold. The ocean water temperature's in the lower 40s, and the east wind has us in the lower 40s, so it's a chilly evening, but that's not cold enough for accumulating snow. Pilot Pete in Lancaster says, oh my goodness, he loves snow, but he doesn't want snow tonight because, which is now last night, he doesn't want the roads to get all salty again. We've just washed all the salt off the roads. And more and more and more. Fascinating. So I'll be up watching this cloud advance. It's not your average snow cloud. It's more like a warm front. Quick burst of energy going by. Should be interesting. All right, here's the time lapse. We'll take us out a little bit farther than where I am now. You hear the cardinal singing. Steve, you're not going very far, all right? Stop right there. This way. Thanks for watching. Talk to you tomorrow. That's enough, Rex. No, stop. Rex, stop. (9:45 p.m.) The sky is definitely falling. Such a dry lower layer. Don't know if the precipitation coming down and evaporating, virga, can make it to the ground. It's gonna be close. I don't feel like staying up. 11 p.m. straight up, and the ground is turning white. This is really unbelievable. It was in the 40s all day long today. This is the most narrow band of snow I've ever seen outside of the Great Lakes. I can measure it. It's gonna go in the books. Tremendous. Which is so fun, you know, being a snow junkie. It's like 5 miles wide. Wow. Mitch called it a CSI band, I believe. Good call, Mitch.